The habits of mind curriculum integration is 4 steps. This little graph here is going to be really important for understanding how habits of mind kind of fit in. So curriculum designers must decide what concepts, what understandings do we want students to learn? That's the most obvious. The content. What is the content of what we're teaching? What do we want them to learn and understand? That's the first thing. What are the thinking processes I want my students to engage in whatever unit that we're doing? What are the learning activities where you can implement and have students experience and learn those concepts? So you've identified the thinking processes. Now you got to have them do it with the content. And then finally, what habits of mind do we want students to take away from the experience? So you can see how they're linked to each other in this order. And so the content, the essential learning for students is based on, national, state, or provincial standards of some sorts, right? The habits of mind is developed alongside an existing curriculum, okay? It can be used to master any curriculum content. So there is no need to establish a new or different curriculum. The habits of mind fits on top of any existing curriculum, no matter what unit you're in, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what subject matter, it can be integrated into it right on top, right? So in other words, if you're a math teacher, a science teacher, a gym teacher, music teacher, if you're in middle school, high school, primary, do you want your students to learn how to be persistent in the face of challenges? Of course, right? That will help them do better in your class. Skillful thinking. What are the skills you want students to master? What are the processes you want students to develop? What thinking skills need to be used to activate those ideas within your discipline? How do you teach these skills? So thinking skills should be embedded within the content, right? And oftentimes the action verbs describe what students do with that content. So we want students to analyze, to create, to evaluate, synthesize, right? And those would be found in the curriculum. And so the content that you're studying is a vehicle. In addition to learning the actual content, it's also a vehicle for practicing the skills that students need to think critically and to be creative. Once the teachers have identified the content and the thinking skills, then they design tasks or activities in the classroom that require deeper thinking. And as you can see, here are some of them. This is not an exhaustive list, but just a few that you might want to look at, right? Planning, making decisions, creating something new, resolving discrepancies, conducting research, right? All of these are skills that will help students become better thinkers and are aligned with the habits of mind. And then finally, habits of mind, it facilitates student success in their strategic thinking. It develops certain dispositions. Teachers, we as teachers can pose reflective questions on how a habit of mind has served them. You struggled with this math problem, and yet you continued to work at it until you succeeded. Johnny, what is the relevancy of being persistent? How do you feel now that you've overcome the challenge, right? So we can pose those questions. We should continually reference the language of habits of mind while they're working on the content, while they're thinking, while they're doing tasks. We want to constantly reference it. We want to provide opportunities to appreciate the value. Now you can see, class, isn't it important to be able to pose questions, to find out solutions that you didn't even know you wanted to know? Or isn't it now, don't you see how important it is to listen to others with understanding? And so we as teachers can help students internalize these habits of mind. So we don't have to tell them, you need to be persistent. They do it on their own. That's the point. So we can cultivate these skills in any existing curriculum, no matter what you're doing in the classroom. That's the point.